Today we're going to be teaching you how to whip. We're going to be doing everything from traditional whips to big ol' oppos to the old classic turn down, and I'm going to be doing kind of a deep dive into the physics on how things work. It is a bit complicated, so I would suggest maybe watching the video multiple times just to understand exactly what I'm saying. But before I can actually show you anything, I need to show you my controls so you know exactly what I'm doing on the controller. Okay, here we are. I'm just going to show you the controller here. This stick right here, this is my rider movement, okay? This is forward, back, left, right, lean. This is how I turn the bars, all right? If you see this button down here being clicked, you can see I'm spamming it. This is my sit and stand button. Now, I did a video on whips a while ago, and you'll notice that I click in my sticks. This doesn't mean anything. They're not bound to anything at all. This is just me having big old thick thumbs, you know what I'm saying? So those are really the important things that you need to know. Obviously, this is throttle and this is brake. Let's talk about the traditional standing whip where you can get underneath the bike just like that. This is basically just leaning forward into the jump and then letting the bike come back and rotate. No sitting or standing, you're just standing the whole time. This clip is an example of like you can actually 360 pretty easy, but look at this one. I'll break this one down and show you here in a minute. But basically, like I said, this is just leaning into the face of the jump to let the front end of the bike dive. And then as it springs back, you're leaning backwards and just letting the bike rotate. All right, it's just kind of allowing the bike to do what it wants to do really easy with mostly just rider input, not a lot of steering input. But let's break this down. Also, that wheelie's insane. Let's break this down in super slow-mo. Okay, as you look, I'm going into the face of the jump here, and I'm gonna start leaning forward, and then right there I lean back, and you see lean back, lean back, lean back, lean back. Basically just lean back, and then right about midway through the jump, you can see I turn my left stick back to the right to get the bike to rotate. Let's watch that again because I know that was complicated. Okay, so we're leaning forward, then immediately back, holding back, letting off the gas too, by the way. That lets the bike kind of come around. And then if you pause it right here where I'm basically upside down, and backwards, I'm leaned back and turned all the way to the right. I initiated the whip to the left, and now I am basically have the bars completely turned, trying to get the bike to rotate back towards me. And then if we continue on from here, you can see I snap back, leaning forward, and this just pulls the bike to his chest. I feel like it helps just rotate the bike back around. As it gets to that kind of middle point, I can roll the throttle back on. I don't have to just go wide open. I roll the throttle right at the point where I'm counter turning, where I was turning left. Now I'm turning right. We're rolling that throttle back on. All of that's just going to help the bike kind of come back straight. Post-recording doc here, I thought I would mention this. When I'm going up the face of the jump with my lean stick, my right stick, I'm not just leaning back. I'm actually leaning back and left off the side of the jump. And then when I lean forward, you're going from back all the way to the left and then forward. You're kind of doing rotating. That lean all helps the bike rotate. You're using your rider to help initiate and continue the rotation of the bike, if that makes sense. All right, let's talk about oppos or turn ups. All right, this is what we're going to be doing. As you can see, the goal is to get the front end up and kind of behind you and then just settle it back down. Now, this is actually really similar to the previous whip, but it looks completely different. The difference is here, instead of leaning back off the side of the bike, like I said earlier, we're going from leaning forward straight back. And that is gonna help get the front of the bike up. And then there's quite a bit difference in the rider lean of what we're going to be doing here. So I'll break this down just like last time in slow motion. But as you can see, man, it looks so good. On this last one here that's about to come up, I wanted to show you because I wanted to show you the importance of how much your front end being loaded makes a big difference. I jumped into the face of that jump, which really pulled that front end up, and I was basically upside down. I have no idea how I didn't crash right here, but you know, MX bikes. Okay, all right, let's break this down into slow motion, but I want you to focus on only my lean stick right now, okay? Which is my right stick. Leaning forward, 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 and then rotate straight back. And that's gonna get the front of the bike up, holding back, back to get it up, and then you can see I did an adjustment in the air and I leaned right and then right back to the left. So let's watch that again. Okay, let's watch this again, but I want to pause it at two very important places so that you can see a couple really important things that I'm doing. First is right here, right when I take off of the face of the jump, I'm about 5 feet, maybe 6 feet past the lip of the jump. And if you look at my right stick, I'm actually leaning forward. Now, why would I do that? I didn't mention that before because I'm a goober, but why would I do this? Well, the reason you would lean forward is because when you lean forward in MX bikes, he pulls the bars to his chest. So if I'm coming off the face of the jump and I want that, you know, front of the bike to come up and closer to me and more straight up and down, which is kind of the idea in this specific jump, I'm gonna lean forward so he pulls the bike to his chest. But once it gets to that point where it's basically straight up and down, you're gonna wanna lean back to kind of help get that bike to level out and then rotate back down. So as you can see, I pull, and then I lean back and that stops the rotation. And then the other point that I wanna pause at is basically right when the camera flips, you can see that I point my left stick and my right stick towards each other. And since we're just focusing on the right stick right now, this is just to get my weight leaned to the left to try and get the bike to come back down straight. Now, I do go into more depth in like 2 seconds here, so bear with me. I know it's a lot, but it'll be worth it. Okay, so let's pay attention to my left stick to see what I'm doing, okay? Completely neutral, holding back just because I'm a goober. Now we're turning left, and then we rotate it back, the sticks towards each other to get the bike to kind of try and come back. I barely came back on this one, but obviously I did. But if you look at the middle of the jump, basically right when the camera rotates, because I'm so far upside down, the sticks come back together. And so that's kind of the goal here, is we're trying to counter each other to bring the bike back straight. You kind of just have to go off of feel, to be honest. The thing to remember is when you turn with your left stick right in the air, it's gonna push the bike to the left, because when you turn the bars, it's gonna apply pressure and pull the back of the bike to the left. When you turn to the left, it's gonna do the opposite, where it's gonna push the bike to the right. So the reason you're leaning into each other with your sticks, if I'm leaning right and then leaning off the side of the bike, I'm trying to force that bike to the left as much as possible. It's backwards, I know, and might be a little confusing, but in the air, basically things are a little bit inverted just from the back of the bike. When you lean to the right, it pushes the back of the bike to the left, even though your bars are to the right. It's very normal in real life as well, but I know a lot of people struggle with that. So the reason that my joysticks are pointed at each other is because I'm trying to get everything shoved down as possible. And since in this case, I was turned up to the right, I need the bike to go to the left. And so I'm gonna turn right and then lean left, if that makes sense. Okay, the last whip I'm going to show you is just the turn down. It's going to be the most simple whip, but it looks pretty good, and so I thought I would show it. Basically, you're just going to go up the face of the jump, lean to the right, and then immediately lean back to the left, or vice versa if you want to turn down the other way. It looks really good. It looks really good in screenshots. It's honestly probably one of the more common whips, because this is very similar to how you scrub, a little bit different, but I can break it down in slow-mo. But we'll break this one down because I think it looks the best, where you're just kind of flat, bars turned. It looks absolutely mint, boys. But let's jump over into slow-mo here. As you can see, as I'm coming up the face of the jump, we're just leaning to the right with both sticks, right and left stick, and then we immediately lean back to the left. One of the most important things to remember here, though, is look at my throttle, okay? As I'm going up the face of the jump, I chop the throttle, and that helps just kind of throw the rear end out. Other than that, you're just leaning to the right up the face of the jump, and as soon as you get in the air, you just snap back to the left. And like I was talking about earlier, because when you lean to the left, it pushes the rear of the bike to the right, and when you lean to the right, it pushes the bike to the left. What this does is as you go up the face of the jump, you lean, and then when you snap back, it just, first of all, he turns his bars down, and then it helps the bike rotate. And then as you're landing, you can lean forward again to pull that bike kind of straight to his chest, and you'll be good. Overall, honestly, I know this may have been a little confusing, but this is the best way for me to explain it, is just show you a million times and then kind of talk about the nuances of MX bikes physics. It's not real life. It's a little bit off and different, but it's very similar in some ways. The biggest thing to remember, like I've been telling you guys in almost every video ever when I talk about physics, is when you lean, he pulls the bike to himself. The rider is static on the bike comes to and from the rider. So when you stand, he pushes the bike down. When you sit, the bike, you know, elevates to his butt. When you lean forward, he pulls the bars to his chest. He doesn't lean on the bars, he pulls them to his chest. And when you lean back, it doesn't really do anything. So take all of that in mind, as well as when you lean left, the bike goes right. When you lean right, the bike goes left. Just remember that, and hopefully this should make sense. If I missed your favorite style whip, let me know down in the comments, and I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.